Thank you for joining us on the Family First Life Health and Wealth podcast. Please like us on all of our platforms at Family First Life Health and Wealth. I hope this information helps you grow and learn. Please share this with everybody you know, all your friends, all your family. We're hiring all across the country. Be well. Welcome to episode 14 of the Health and Wealth podcast. My name is Steve Giordano. Today we have the Hall of Fame edition with my main man, greatest nickname in the business, Orlando No Pain, No Gain. Round of applause, Hall of Famer.
Love the music.
What is going on, brother? How you doing today?
What's going on, Steve? How you doing? I'm doing well, man. I'm doing good.
If I was any better, I'd be you, first of all.
That's not true. I want to be you, brother.
You're funny. I'm excited because, this is a long time coming. You have had a very amazing journey here as to where you came from, which we're going to talk about, where you are today. And really, to me, the most important thing is where you're headed.
Absolutely.
So let's start here. Tell us a little bit about kind of where you started, what you did before FFL, what brought you here.
Okay. Well, I was working at a nursing home. I was there for about 2 years. I had a friend of mine, tell me about, the industry. I initially did not want to do it. At that point of my journey where I was at, my friend was telling me, hey, this is a great opportunity, one in a lifetime opportunities to check it out. But my mind was just so, I was hard-headed pretty much. He was just initially just telling me that, hey, you have an opportunity to make a lot of money here. But I was where I was at with my son. My son was about to go into college. I pretty much thought that, I needed a 9 to 5 because it was, it was scary to go out on your own. I needed something secure, and that was my main thing. And 6 months later, he comes back to me and tells me, hey, the opportunity's still there. And again, I just wasn't forthcoming with it. I was, scared. Period. I was just scared. But I did my own investigating, with the company, and I was doing a lot of research. And I said, man, all these people all across the country are making all this money. I should be able to do this. So, I eventually got involved. I reached out to you. I think you reached out to me. I reached out to somebody in New York first. It was Tri-State.
Yep.
And then, they linked me up with you, and, just took it from there. It was definitely a wonderful process. I might say this has definitely changed my life for the better. But once I transitioned from the nursing home, I, started off buying leads. But, I was like how most people were. I financially was a little bit tight for me, but I had to get another part-time job to be able to purchase the leads. It wasn't easy, but, I had to do it. And, we had just discussed, there wasn't any plan B. This had to have worked. If I was going to make this transition, this had to have worked. I had a lot of family members, telling me, oh, what are you doing? This is crazy. You have a degree in college. You should be doing computers, and, this is crazy. What are you doing? But, I didn't listen to them, thank God. I wanted to, this had to have work. I wanted to prove a lot of people wrong, and I wanted to make a lot of money doing it. So once I was able to get the leads, purchase the leads, it was just a lot of door knocking, a lot of phone calling, pretty much 7 days a week. The first 6 months was part-time, but I felt like I was working full-time because with the other job, trying to mix the two and, trying to, get my schedule in, the right way. But after then the COVID happened, once the COVID happened, they laid me off from my job, and I went full-time with this. And he had asked me to come back, and it felt so good to be able to tell them, no, I'm not going back. And I went full time with this, and I never looked back since.
Couple things. So first question, you have a degree in what exactly in computers?
Computer Information Systems, CIS.
Okay, so when you got that degree, like what is like the top job that you had maybe been looking at or were gunning for?
So with a computer degree, it's broad, right? You can do networking, you can do software, you can do hardware. I was more on the software side of things. I was what you call like a tier 2. Then they have the engineers, etc. But I was always a tier 2 where we would try to figure out, the problems. We would work with quote unquote proprietary software. So it was the company's own software where they would train you the back end on things. And then, when the customers had the issue, they had the customer service department that would open up the tickets. And then depending on the issue, they'll, send it to somebody that's tier 2.
So if I have a problem with my Apple computers, can I call you and can you help?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what I really need to figure out is why I keep calling Apple and why I just don't call you.
There you go. Now you know.
Okay, perfect. So when the internet goes down, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you on everything from now on.
Call me on everything.
So I'm glad you told me that.
And I won't charge you.
Beautiful. I love it. So that's pretty cool. So now you talked about family, right? And a lot of times, look, if you come from a family or a background where there weren't a lot of entrepreneurs and people that were doing something similar to this, business owners, right, they're not going to necessarily understand, right? We deal with that a lot.
Absolutely. How
did you manage that with your family? How did you communicate with what it was you were doing? Did you show them the opportunity? How did that look?
Well, I spoke to them about the opportunity, and I got a lot of negative feedback. Not necessarily about the company itself. It was just what the field I was getting into. And, I had an aunt who did this. Hopefully she doesn't hear this because she's going to be so why are you talking bad about me? But I love her to death. That's my aunt.
Anonymous aunt.
Right. But, she pretty much, was explaining she had a bad experience. She was doing this for a while. And that was, what am I doing? She told me a couple of situations where her car got repoed because, at one point she was able to sell. And then once she stopped being able to get, some leads, everything just fell down for her. But I was explaining to her that's not the case. We're always going to have leads. Is definitely not a problem. We're always going to have leads. But I think my main thing was showing them that it's possible. Once they started seeing the difference, and I know they're scratching their heads now, and I had a lot of family members asking me, is this real? They want to see the evidence of, pretty much the money, and they see the difference. And, a lot of them are reaching out, and I tell them it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. It's not for everybody, but at the same time, you're going to have to work. And if you do work, it will 100% change your life. Mm. Yeah.
So now what is the feedback as we're literally a year and a half in and 650 some odd thousand issue paid later? Mm. What does it look like now?
Oh, it's totally different now. Totally different. Again, family members still now, instead of me being that one agent that's going up to family members and family members kind of just moving away from you. Now it seems like they're coming to me in flocks, asking me questions about it. Is this really true? And how can they get involved? And, they kind of want to be a part of it, but they're still, uncertain, but they see all the Facebook posts and, the change in my life and the change in other people's lives because they're seeing all these testimonies on Facebook, et cetera. So they're being more, they're a lot more interested in 100%.
What's interesting is the fact that, like your aunt, for instance, if she worked in the industry and she worked for whatever company back in the day, and it was different, no leads, low comp, right, no real setup to really make money and kind of just scratch by. That was kind of the way the industry was. Right. And now we're at a different place than we were then.
Different place, different time, right.
Like looking at FFL in general, we're growing in the simplified issue space. Right. So rapidly,
extremely fast, right?
Where to the point, like you brought up COVID, right? And we'll talk about it. With COVID, if you worked at companies that did fully underwritten policies only, mm-hmm, like you're basically like done, right, because nobody's meeting anybody, right, nobody's doing blood and urine, right. So the simplified space in our arena and in general is exploding because it's just a simple now with the Zoom, the phone, like. Right. very easy to get insurance, whereas back in the day it wasn't. It was a more cumbersome process.
Right.
So I can see why a family member would be
Absolutely.
like, oh, like that's not going to work because it didn't work for me.
Right. And I understood that aspect. But explaining that to them, without being the guinea pig and showing that this process does work. If it worked for me, this was somebody that, never had that much experience owning their own business and, being an insurance agent, never having that history, coming from a totally different background and just working hard and being consistent. It can work for anybody as long as you have those things 100%.
Yeah. An interesting thing for me, and I would, mention this to a lot of people who are hiring and building and trying to get agents going, is in the conversations I had with you probably in the first 3 to 6 months where you were hungry and you kept telling me you wanted it,
right.
but we were trying to strategize on how to do it from a lead front,
right.
from a schedule front, which we're going to talk about when you were part-time, not giving up on people.
Right.
Because I knew you wanted it. Like you said all the right things. And for me, I was just like, okay, I'm going to keep on them
Right.
and keep lines of communication open and not give up.
Right.
And then by doing that, I hope it showed you, hey,
absolutely,
this guy believes in me, and now we're going to go make it happen.
Absolutely, 100%. If that wasn't the case, then, I probably would have, maybe, who knows, maybe would have just fell off or kind of geared somewhere else. But, you still need that gratification, especially in that particular situation where financially might be a little bit tough, but at the same time, you as a person still have to do it yourself because nobody's going to do it for you.
100%.
So
I agree. 100%. So now walk me through a little bit that early initial stage. You're working that regular job. What was your schedule then?
Regular 9-to-5 job. I would get up in the morning, have to be there by 9. I'll get out at 5, knowing that I can't stop anywhere else, because I only have a couple hours to try to book 15 appointments for that weekend. But I would start on Thursday. Okay, they book my calls on Thursday and sometimes try to do it on Friday as well. Gradually, initially, I wasn't getting those 15 appointments. I might get 4 or 5, but in time, it got so much easier. It really, really did, and that's why I always say everything, happens for a reason. In the next 2 or 3 months, I was, gradually booking more appointments and being able to purchase more leads, where my savings account was starting to, get a lot more money, issued. So, it definitely felt good. But with time, it definitely helped. You definitely want to stay consistent and, keep doing what you're doing. So,
how many months did you do that before you had enough, funds built up to leave the job, and then 2, enough belief?
So I would say, within, I would say 2 or 3 months, but just because this was my first time just going, doing my own business, I was kind of scared, a little bit nervous at the time, because I couldn't believe, I believed, but it was just all new to me, getting up in the morning again and having, $5,000 in my savings account. That hadn't happened in a long time. But it was definitely different, for me. So, yeah.
Interesting. So now, you transition, you jump all in full time.
Mm-hmm.
I think COVID hit very shortly after that.
Yes.
How did that look for you? I mean, you obviously didn't slow down.
Absolutely not.
But how did you manage that?
So, when COVID happened, they had laid pretty much everybody off. Me and you talking, you had said that you should just go full time, and I had no other choice. I had to go full time, right? But I can honestly say it felt good. It was more work, and yes, it was harder. But knowing that I'm working for myself, the harder you work, the more money you're gonna get. And I'm starting to hear everybody else getting laid off, and I'm here making more money. It was a big difference. It was a big difference, and right then, that's when I knew this is for real, and I didn't want to, let up at all, because it really, I was working, but it doesn't feel like work. It really, really doesn't. When you're helping people out and you're making money, your family's changing. Why wouldn't you want to do that? I just don't understand. It wasn't it wasn't hard for me to make that transition. The amount of money that everybody's making, and it's on your own time, and the harder you work, it's real. It's real. So sometimes I just scratch my head,
Yeah.
when I hear other agents, not doing it. So
Sure. Kind of a hypothetical. Do you think that you would have been laid off from that job because of COVID?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and I don't think I had said this. So when I finished transitioning from the nursing home, right, and I had started working at a call center, to get the leads, but another job had picked me up, and they were paying me like $60,000. So I was doing, I was a sales plus commission, right, and I was there for maybe about 4 months. So a lot of that money that I was using, I was using to purchase leads, and that's the job that actually, I got the layoff, with, and they had asked me to come back, but I had told them no, I didn't want to come back. So,
Isn't that funny how things work in life, right?
It's so funny, but again, just with this opportunity, I think maybe the first week or 2 weeks we had an issue with when the COVID first happened, because nobody knew what to expect with the COVID. Especially when you were going, to the houses, and people were like, oh well, this whole epidemic, I'm not sure, but everybody just adjusted. I started bringing 2 chairs. I brought a table. I said, hey, we can sit outside. We can definitely do it outside. I'll wear a mask, and it wasn't any issue. We just kept thriving.
Yeah.
So,
the thing to me when I think of you and knowing you is this crazy work ethic and drive. One obviously came from a place of necessity, right?
Absolutely.
Because you had to. You didn't have a choice, have kids, got bills, got all this stuff.
Right.
And you saw the opportunity and you ran with it. And one of the things that you've always done and still do and never really changed was knocking doors, dialing the phone at 8 a.m. Tell me where was that work ethic instilled in you at a young age? Did it come later in life? Where did it all come from?
I think I've always had the work ethic, and I got it from my mother. My mother, she is the backbone of my life, I would have to say, because she's been through so much. I seen when she, initially started. She's a nurse practitioner. I seen that work ethic with her. Working 6 or 7 days a week, working 24-hour shifts, and busting a butt to help get a better life, for me and my younger brother. My father, he was not really around, but definitely my mother, definitely installed that in me. But I feel like, I've always had it, especially if I take pride in my work, and I feel like everybody should. And my thing was always, man, I always bust my butt for $50,000, where a supervisor gets all the bonuses when I'm the one that's working, doing the hardest. Even at the great company at the nursing home, all the work is worked, and we put in the overtime and the hours to make the place look good and comfortable for the for the residents. But the supervisors got the bonuses, and I got tired of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. How did you adapt to the kind of business owner mindset, right? Probably one of the hardest things to do, coming from, hey, I worked the job forever. And what was your best year income-wise prior to this?
My best year income-wise, I would say probably 75 to 80,000.
Okay.
I was working for a startup company up north in Massachusetts. I did a lot of contracting work. That was the pretty much all the jobs that paid during when I was contracting. Yeah, that was probably the best year. And I look at it now and it's like that's nothing compared to what everybody's making over here.
It's like a month and a half for you
like
now.
A month and a half, right? Right. And it's funny. It's funny.
Which is wild.
But it feels good. It definitely feels good. I remember the days where I would get up in the morning and have $200 in my account and having to pay 2 or 3 bills. I'm like, how am I going to make this work out? I was definitely living from paycheck to paycheck, and it was tough. So
Got it. Okay. So now you get going, you get leads, you get on the phone. You quickly got pretty good at mortgage protection. You got good at everything, final expense. You've not been afraid to try everything. You've tried everything. Some things work, some things don't. You change, you evolve. What are some of the things that you did early on from a training perspective, and the fact that, well, let's go part-time. You're working a full-time job. You're running this, 10, 15 appointments a week, and then you're also trying to learn and train. Right. What are some of the things you did and things that you watched, listened to help you learn as you were taking massive activity?
Right. Well, first thing is it's awesome to have the number one agent in the company, just talking to you and communicating, and you communicating as far as, hey, try this, or, do that. That helped. But as far as myself, I always try to put the numbers in my favor. And that's one of the things I kind of regret. When I initially started, I thought I wasn't following the formula. I thought that because I have a computer degree, I could just create my own leads and
oh, you were that guy.
I was that guy. I'm gonna make this work, and but no, that never worked. It never worked. I would just kept it simple, and when I realized keeping it simple, it just that the numbers and the sales actually started coming in. But just watching a lot of the podcasts, I love watching YouTube. Yeah. But not wasting my time watching videos that's not going to help me make money. Watching a lot of the training videos, speaking to other agents, networking, because I do feel what works for me or what works for somebody else might not work, for me. Yeah. But just nitpicking here and there from other agents and creating my own little recipe, that definitely, helped me out a bit. So.
Yeah, you said a very key thing there that I think a lot of people lose sight. So many people get going and they focus on all these things that do not make them money. Right. Where you were smart. You're like, okay, what's going to help me get paid? Right. What helps me get paid is getting policies issued for clients. Right. So walk me through a little of, dive into a little bit of in-home stuff, like some of your, we'll say psychological things that you use in the house that are taking you to the sales to be a Hall of Fame producer.
Great question. I look at it as there are so many agents out there that can sell the client the same type of policy. For me, when I get into the home, I need to build that rapport. Okay, not too long. I don't want to be at the client's home for 2 or 3 hours, but at the same time, I think I want to inform my clients, hey, this is what we can offer you. Okay, and just breaking down that ice and finding out that why. Why is obviously one of the big things. But once I get that rapport and kind of find that commonality with the client. That usually helps me out. The policies kind of sell itself because they're awesome policies. But breaking down that wall, and also I explain to them, hey, this is what happens. I have this one story where, I think it was like my 3rd or 4th month where one of my clients, he had another policy. His wife wound up dying due to a heart attack, but he only had an accidental policy. He had the policy for 5 years, okay, and he had no clue it was an accidental policy. His wife was making $5,000 a month. He was only making $1,300 a month. So now he's not getting the $5,000, and it's just him and his daughter. So you can only imagine how he felt. I explain that a lot to my clients that, hey, one, if you don't get a policy, this is what's going to happen for the most part. Everybody needs life insurance. Everybody needs mortgage protection. You have insurance on your car. You have insurance on your phone. If the policy's too much, we can just lower it, but just get in. You can always go up. Just get in. Everybody needs life insurance or mortgage protection. So, yeah.
See, I love in talking to you here, the passion you have around it, because that story is so impactful. And everybody's going to, as they get going doing this, they might have a personal story in their life from an insurance perspective of somebody who had it or didn't. Right. And then you get going and, you see these things, and then you've harbored it to where in your in-home, it's like a passionate thing that you're able to communicate to everybody. Absolutely. And all you need is one.
All you need is one. All you need is one. And even if you don't never experienced one, you can explain about one that you might have heard.
Yeah.
You know that definitely, because it gets people that emotional aspect, like, hey, this can probably happen to me.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely don't want to do that to my family.
100%. So now, at what point did you decide I want to build a team, I want more, I want an agency, and, you know, I want to strive for integrity?
Well, you know, even though I love what I do, you know, no question, but I don't want to sell insurance. I'm not going to be young, you know, for the rest of my life, you know, at one point, and I want to be able to help others make the same type of money, because I know there's a lot of me's out there that just don't know about this opportunity. You know, I think it was probably, you know, after a couple of months of me getting those deposits, you know, and seeing how many people are really not making money, you know, I think at that point, you know, was, hey, you know, you definitely want to share the wealth and be able to communicate that to people. But I do feel like if you can't show that, you know, this is working, you know, that nobody's going to really know, but you have to be an example, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely be an example, so.
And, you know, this year, you know, ups and downs, as we all do, selling, building, you know, you're bringing people on, you're training them, some stick, some don't.
Right.
What are some of the things that you've learned this year in the way of building your team that you're now going to, like, kind of take with yourself into 2022 so you can really take your team to the next level?
I think the first thing is, you know, we're all different and we're all coming from different situations to have a better understanding of everyone's situation. But at the same time, I got to be stern. You know, I do feel like when I initially started, because I have because of where I came from, I have an understanding of where people are that are struggling a little bit financially. So, you know, I have a little bit of a soft heart, you know, for them. But at the same time, if they're not going to work, if they're not going to put in that effort, it's just not going to work. You know, they definitely have to show that, you know, they're willing to work and they're wanting to work. And then, you know, whether it's showing up on the training calls, and it's simple things. You know, you don't have to do it, especially if you're, you know, you do have a full time. I get that, but you still have to put in that effort to for me to see that, you know, this is going to work. But I think, and also just, again, the understanding. You just have to have that understanding, and you know, moving forward.
Yeah, because, I mean, in the beginning, let's face facts, like, you had a lot of time, you didn't have a lot of money,
Right.
and you knew how to work,
Right.
and I remember, you were the champion door knocker.
Yeah.
Like, you exhausted every lead, you were not afraid to go out, you know, at any time when things get tight in your month, like, you're like, I'm out door knocking,
Yeah.
and you find success.
And I think at one point I texted you. I said, Steve, it's like 9:30. Do you think I should door knock now?
Of course.
Like, it's a little bit too late. You might not want to.
Yeah, might want to come in the morning.
Right.
But look, the mentality of it is like, yeah, like, I'm at it.
Right.
Like, you know, like, I'm going to go out and make it happen. And you did.
Right.
And then, you know, things get a little easier gradually.
Absolutely.
But you've never changed your work ethic.
No. Because I don't want to go back to where I was at.
Correct.
That's what I'm afraid of. Like,
Yep.
I can't. There's no way. You know, and I know I can lose it just like that.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be, you know, nonchalant about things and be stagnant and be comfortable where I'm at. You know, and especially when there's so much more opportunity to make more and to help more people. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
And now, you know, as we go into 2022, which is 2022, the year of growth, anybody who's confused about that is the year of growth. And we all have to grow because we have big goals as a company and big goals, all of us agencies, what have you.
Right.
What are some of your goals, issue paid? I mean, your team hovers around 100,000 a month. What are your goals kind of as we progress into 2022? Where would you like to see yourself at the end of 2022, issue paid a month? Putting you on the spot.
So for myself, you know,
as a team.
Oh, as a team. Oh man, it's 400. Why not 400K?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just starting off. I do have a couple of writers now, but we need to get more. You know, I still need to get a lot more staff. But yeah, as a whole, 400K. You know, and just, you know, take it from there. But I know it's going to be a lot of hard work, just like with anything. But it's worth it. it's so much worth it, and it's gonna happen because again, as we just said, there is no plan B.
Right.
Like this has to work, and it's gonna work, but it's just, it's that time, to figure out, what it's gonna be. But we have no other choice. So,
what's cool is, for me, I think seeing people evolve,
right.
like you're a different person than you were a year and a half ago. Like, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Just my total mind frame, what I look at things now, how I see things. You wouldn't be an adult. I feel if you're not growing every single year, or a business owner, you want to grow. You want to grow. You want to, be consistent, and and especially in the business that we're in, to help other people. So.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt in my mind you're gonna be headed for those numbers because you are one that goes above and beyond for agents that you work with. And you always put yourself in their shoes,
right.
which is huge because I think sometimes leaders can, like, they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to, they kind of forget where they came from.
Right.
And you are one that you just always have that healthy respect. Like you said it before, it's the fear of loss as opposed to the desire for gain.
Right.
You don't want to go backwards. So therefore your work ethic stays the same, but at the same time, you're evolving the way you work.
Right.
Like taking the same torque
Right.
and just kind of turning the dial a little bit
right.
and changing it up and putting some more emphasis in different areas.
Absolutely.
So I love that. So what are some things that you're doing in the way of just like some self-development, like any things that you're working on to try and help yourself be just a better entrepreneur?
Yeah, I've gotten several different books, building an agency, beginning an agency, watching like-minded people, in some of the YouTube videos, speaking to you more about this particular position. That's the only way, and just gaining more experience and just trying to, gain as much knowledge and absorb as much knowledge as possible.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, what I'm doing. But yeah, it's definitely a good feeling, and it's a good, situation, to be in. So.
Totally. Yeah. It's always humbling, I think, every day where, like, even if you have success, like you're saying, hey, I got to be better.
Right.
Because if you always say you got to be better, you'll always get better.
Absolutely.
Because you're not saying, oh my God, I'm a Hall of Fame producer.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to rest
I'm
on
good
that.
Now. Yeah, no.
We scratch the surface.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
There's one check box and we got about 50 million more.
50 million.
So
50 million
we're gonna keep it rolling.
Right.
So if anybody wants to work with you, we obviously have your hashtag behind you for, I believe that's Instagram, right?
Yep.
What's the best way to contact you to work with you?
So you can definitely contact me on Facebook. You can it's my name, Orlando Payne, or you can use my email, orlandopayne@hotmail.com, or Orlando Payne, that's PAYNE 2121 @gmail.com. Or you can contact myself at 978-332-6572. That's my personal number. I know it's an out-of-state number, but I've had the number for 15, 16 years, and I didn't want to change it. But yeah, 978-332-6572.
What state is that?
That's Massachusetts.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I'm the same way. I've had my New York number for like 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm not changing.
Yeah, I'm not changing it.
People are like, you're from New York? I'm like, yeah, like 10, 11 years ago. But I'm not changing because it's too much of a pain.
Too much of a pain.
Well, here's the one thing I'd say for anybody who wants to join your team. Nobody's going to give them more kind of hands-on, helping them through understanding where they're at than you are.
Absolutely.
Because it's just kind of your nature.
Right.
So if you're looking for someone who's going to really, really help you and give you the best opportunity to be successful, working with Orlando.
Absolutely. And not only that, if I don't know the answer, I'm working with the #1 agent in the country. So we'll get the answer for you and help you, make that money. So, yes.
No doubt. I like that. We should make that a shirt. We're going to help you make that money.
Absolutely.
You should put like your logo on it and that.
And that help you make your money.
That should be like a post today, like or something. Like let's get with this. Let's get with the social media department and get on that.
There you go.
Well, I appreciate you. I'm so excited for
Likewise.
the convention, February in Miami. See you up on stage at a baseball stadium with a red jacket,
Yes, sir.
a former baseball player.
Former baseball player.
That is going to be off the chart. I think today I saw 11,000 people registered.
Wow.
It's going to be just incredible, and I'm going to be very, very proud to see you up there because you deserve it.
Thank you.
You work tirelessly, and you do so much, and just appreciate you. So,
Likewise.
appreciate everybody, guys. Register for convention, and we will talk next week. Take care.